Good morning, students. Welcome to today's video lecture. So in the last lecture, we have discussed about the various types of connections that are used in steel structures, namely riveting, bolting, and welding. So primarily our discussion was about bolting. Okay, what is a bolt? How is it designed to take the loads? The various types of bolt classification based on strength and all these things we have discussed. So today we'll continue our discussion about types of bolted joints and other such points and other such topics. Okay. So in bolted joints, primarily we have two types of joint, lap joint and butt joint. So now see, this is an example of a lap joint. Okay. So the two members that are to be connected are overlapped and connected together. Now this kind of joint is called a lap joint. So this is one member, this is a plate, okay, having width B and length L, suppose, okay, and over this another plate of similar size is being overlapped. So this is the overlapping, okay, this is the overlapping, and you are connecting these two plates with the help of four bolts in one line, okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You are making holes and then you are bolting. So this is the figure. This is lap joint. So this is single bolted lap joint. Single bolted lap joint means only one plate is there. This is the main plate and this is the cover plate. So only one cover plate is there and it is overlapped. So this is the overlapping distance. This is called a lap joint. So if you are applying tension force T here or P here, same force will be applied here also. Okay. So another is double bolted lap joint, means there are two lines of or two rows of two columns of bolting, one here and one here. Okay, so this is double bolted lap joint. Okay, so a single bolted lap joint and a double bolted lap joint, here you have been shown. The load in the lap joint has eccentricity, as the CG of the load in one member and the CG of the load in the second member are not in the same line. As you can see, for this member, the CG of the load is here. Okay, this dotted line. For this member, CG of the load is here. So there is clearly these two loads are not in the same line of action. So there is a distance between these two loads, which is the eccentricity. Because of this eccentricity, it will develop additional stresses, secondary stresses or bending stresses in this uh, joint. Okay, so in order to reduce such, we cannot simply go with one line. You have to give two rows or two lines of rivets in order to counteract the additional stresses due to bending. Now this is one of the major disadvantage in lap joint. So this has been rectified in a butt joint. So what is a butt joint? Now let us, this is a butt joint. Butt joint means, in lap joint, these two loads were not in the same plane. They were in different plane. But in the members, connecting members were in different planes. So loads were also in different planes. So here in a butt joint, you will see that these two members, these members and these members are to be connected. Okay, these are the two member plates having a width of B and thickness T. Now this member and this member are in the same line. Okay, they have the same plane. The load that is being acted upon in these two members are acting in the same plane. The CG will coincide. So there will be no eccentricity. And these two are connected by overlapping one cover plate here, having two lines of bolt here. So since you are placing only one cover plate on the top of these two main plate, so this is main plate and this is cover plate. In bolting, this is the nomenclature. The members that are to be connected are called the main plates. The plate that is being used for connection of the main plate is the cover plate. So single cover means only top you are providing one cover plate in two lines. So this is the top view, this is the side view, this is the isometric view. Similarly, if you are providing uh, cover plates on both sides, so this is called as double cover butt joint. You are providing cover plates on both the sides, on the top also, on the bottom also. So this is called as double cover butt. That are to be connected are placed. Additional plates are placed on the upside and downside of these two. So The main advantage here is the eccentricity is eliminated. So you have no additional bending stress. So always butt joint is preferred over lap joint, unless it is absolutely necessary. So these two are the main kind of joints. Now we'll discuss about the failure of bolted joints. Okay. Now before failure, we have to understand how is the load being transferred, load transfer mechanism in bolted joint. Now depending on the type of bolt, whether it is ordinary bolts or high strength friction bolts, the load is transferred from one connected part to the other by shear and bearing or by friction. Now, as discussed earlier in the earlier class, we have discussed that ordinary bolts or unfinished bolts will transfer the load by shearing or bearing. Okay, but in case of HSFG bolts, high strength friction grip bolts, load is entirely transferred by friction. So this is the main difference. Now, in the ordinary bolts are called as bearing type connections, and the friction grip bolts are called slip resistant or slip critical connections. Now, what happens in friction grip bolts, a very high tension is obtained in the high strength bolts, resulting in large clamping forces and large amount of frictional forces due to the frictional resistance due to slipping. Now, these entire forces are being resisted by friction, and joints are not placed in shear or bearing. So there will be no shear plane acting, no bearing acting on these joints, on these bolts, which are done by HSFG bolts, which is not the case in case of bearing type bolts. Now, we should understand what is how the failure of bolted joints takes place. Now, see, this is the single shear. Okay. Now, this is shear failure of bolted joints. So, see, this was the original bolt. Okay. This was the bolt. This is the head. This is the nut assembly. Now, initially, these two shank of the bolt, see, it has sheared. Has been displaced. There is a little difference between this plane and this plane. So that means why it is occurring? It is occurring because shear stresses are generated in the plates slip due to applied forces. You are applying forces in these two plates. Okay. Now, if there will be slip. Obviously, since this is ordinary bolts, this is not friction grip bolts, so there will be slip. This is not slip critical. This is bearing type connections. So these bolts will slip. Due to this slipping, there will be shear stresses that will be generated in these bolts. Now, when the shear stresses exceeds the nominal shear capacity of the bolt, now every bolt will have a certain shear capacity that will understand how to find out the shear capacity in a bolt. We'll understand in the next subsequent topics. Now, whenever this shear stress that is being generated due to slipping, this exceeds the nominal shear capacity of the bolt, this bolt will fail in shear like this. Now, this is only one plate ever. So single shear, in double shear, two cover plates we are providing, and this like this, the shank is being displaced. See. So in these two cases only, the bolt is being sheared. The failure of the bolt is occurring by shearing action. Okay, it's called as shearing failure. Now another thing is bearing failure of. Now this bolt is crushed half. See here, this is a plate. Now this is the bolt. Now this was the original hole. This hole. Now due to bearing stresses, this bolt will be crushed. Okay. What happens is the strength of the plate in bearing is much higher than the strength of the bolt in bearing. So whenever load is very high, this bolt will get crushed, whereas the plate will remain same. The plate will not be affected. So this is bearing failure of bolt. Sometimes what happens, the bearing stresses in the bolt is very high. Okay, and before that bearing stress is reached, the bearing failure of plate occurs. The crushing strength of the plate due to heavy load, the plate will crush before the bolt crushes. So in that case, the bearing failure will occur on the plate and not on the bolt. Okay, similar action. First case, crushing occurs in the bolt. Second case, crushing occurs in the plate. And this occurs only when there is huge compressive stresses. The crushing, you have understood and learned earlier that crushing will occur when compressive load is tremendous. Okay, or tensile load is tremendous, then the tearing will occur. Okay, now because of this crushing or the bearing force exceeds this bearing capacity, the plates or the bolt will fail. Okay, now bearing failure of plates. Now, ordinary bolt is material is weaker than the bolt material get crushed. Now, the bearing problem can be complicated by the presence of a nearby bolt at the proximity of an edge in the direction of load. Now, these problems will, this crashing, this bearing failure of the plate or the bolt will occur when you are not keeping the minimum edge distance that is required. Okay. So if this is the end of the plate, your bolt will be placed, the whole of the bolt will be placed minimum at a certain minimum distance. It cannot be placed at very close proximity to the edge of the plate. So this is one point that has to be remembered, because if you're not providing that distance, you are not providing the bearing for the plate, and hence it will fail. Okay. Tension failure, the shear tearing, shear failure of the plate occurs, and this plate will split like this. Okay. Next is tension failure of plates when the tensile capacity, tension carrying capacity of the plate, okay, is less as compared to the bolt. This plate will split in this direction and this direction like this. Bolt will remain unaffected, but the plate will split here like this around the bolt, around the whole of the bolt. So this is tension failure of the plate. And this tearing failure will occur when the bolt are stronger than the plates. Tension on both the gross area and the neck effect is considered. And tension failure of bolts will occur again. Tension failure for bolts also will occur. So here, all the failures you have to consider two things. There may be failure of the bolt, there may be failure of the plates. Now, which one will occur earlier? This is the point that has to be remembered here. Okay. Now, depending upon the shear stresses, shear carrying capacity or the tension carrying capacity of either the plate or the bolt, which one comes earlier, it will fail. Which one is reached earlier, that part of the connection will fail first. So this is the logic. Block shear failure. The bolts are placed at lesser end distance than required, causing the plates to shear out, and can be checked by observing the specification for end distance. Now, failure of the connection block shear may occur when a block of the material within the bolted area breaks away from the other known area. Now, since see, this is a gusset plate, okay, and this is a connecting plate. Now, what you are doing is you are connecting this gusset plate with this plate with 4 bolts. Now, what happens in the block failure means this entire thing will tear out. Initially, what was happening? Either the bolt was failing or this plate is being displaced. Now, block means this block. This is the gusset plate and this is the tension. This entire block forming connecting the dotted lines of these bolts will fail together. This assembly, entire assembly of this square section will fail together. So this is called as block failure. Now, you will understand the concept of block failure more when you study tension members in steel structures. So this is discussed in detail. So block failure is another addition and a very important type of failure in bolted joints. Okay. Now, what are the specifications for bolted joints? Now, these specifications are given as per as IS 800 2000 limited method. Okay. IS 800, I told you in the initial class, first beginning class only, that without IS 800 2007, that is limited well IS code and steel table, you cannot solve any design problem based on steel structure. So these two is a must. These two you should keep with yourself anytime while studying steel structures. So there are some specifications, that is what is the minimum pitch and gauge and all that. Okay. So let us understand what is pitch. So suppose these are the two main plates and this is a double covered butt joint with 4 rows of connecting bolts. Okay, now this is subjected to a tension force. These plates are subjected to a pull, tension pull T. All right. Now this is the direction of the load, and this is the center to center distance of the bolts. Okay. Now this distance measured along the direction of the load is called the pitch, and the distance that is measured along the width of the plate. So this is the width of the plate. Along the width of the plate perpendicular to the direction of the load is the gauge. So this distance is gauge distance and this distance is pitch distance. Okay. So as per IS 800 specifications, there are some minimum and maximum pitch that you can provide in designing the connection for bolts. Same for rivets also. So this you have to keep in mind. What is the minimum pitch that can be given? That means you cannot place the two rivets extremely close in close proximity to each other, or you cannot place the rivets in very far distance. Okay, there has to be limit. There has to be a maximum and a minimum limit. So that is called as the minimum pitch or the maximum pitch. Now, what is the minimum pitch? 2.5 times the nominal dia of bolt. Okay, not the whole dia of the hole. Remember one thing, for diameter of 2 mm, this is also given in IS code. Okay, what is nominal dia and gross dia? Gross dia is always for bolts of dia less than 20 mm. Gross dia is nominal dia plus 2 mm. Okay, for more than 20 mm, 22 mm and so on, that gross dia will be diameter of nominal dia plus 2.5 mm or 3 mm, like that. Okay, so it will be more. So depending on the dia of the bolt, the dia of the hole shall be different. So here we are talking about not the dia of the hole, but dia of the bolt. So in that case, the minimum pitch should be 2.5 times the nominal dia. So if you are using a bolt of diameter 16 mm, so what is the minimum pitch? 2.5 into 16, that is 40 mm. So minimum distance center to center of the bolt shall be 40 mm. In any case, it should not be less than that. Okay, you cannot place the bolts more closer than that. Maximum pitch, maximum distance is 16T or 200 mm, whichever is less in tension member, 12T or 200 mm, whichever is less in compression member. So for tension members and for compression members, we have different clauses. Tension members, pitch will be more. Since it's pulling, the load is pulling, so we can keep the distance a bit more. And in compression member, it is 12T or 200 mm, whichever is less. You have to see whichever is less, whether 12T value is less or 200 mm, that value only you can take. Okay, so this is the maximum and minimum pitch. Now edge distance, see here, this is the edge distance, end distance or edge distance. This is the end row of the rivet, and this is where the plate is ending. Okay, now from this edge to the center of this rivet is the end distance or the edge distance. This also has a specification. You cannot keep the edge distance depending on the dia of the rivet. You have to keep a certain edge distance that is given in this table. This is the nominal dia of bolt, nominal dia of hole. See, for 12 mm diameter of bolt, diameter of hole shall be 13 and above. You can keep 13. For 14 mm diameter of hole shall be 15. For 16 it is 18. For 18 it is 20. So initially it was 1, DH plus 1, DH was D plus 1. Now it is for above 16 mm, it is D plus 2 up to 20, 24, 24. Then up to 24, it is D plus 2. From 27 onwards, it is D plus 3. Okay. Now this is distance to be rolled from the machine end flame cut or plane edge. That means this edge distance. So from 12 mm, for 12 mm dia of nominal bolt, edge distance is 19. For 16 mm, it is 27. Okay. For 24, it is 39. Likewise, you have to see what is the nominal dia and what is the edge distance from this table. So this table is also given in the IS 800 code book. All right. These are the main specifications that we'll have learned. Now, what is meant by shear strength of bolt? Now, as we have discussed while discussing the failure for bolted joints, whether it was the failure of plates or failure of the bolts, we have discussed about one important requirement, that is the shear capacity. What is the shear strength of bolt? So how to find it? The nominal shear capacity of bolt is given by this formula: V NSB is equal to FUB by root 3 NN into ANB plus NS into ASB. Okay, so this is for normal bolts. Now, if the bolted joints are very long, that means when it will be long? When you are connecting 2 or 3 plates together. then obviously the shank will be more, but length of the joint will be more. So when the length of the joint is more, then its shear capacity will reduce, and you have to introduce certain reducing factor called BLJ, BLG, and BPKJ. Okay. Now in this formula, what is FUB? FUB is the ultimate tensile stress of bolt that you will get from the table. For 4.6 grade bolt, what is the yield stress? What is the ultimate stress you will get? NN is the number of shear planes with threads intercepting the shear plane. So when you are connecting the bolt with the plate, what is the number of shear planes with threads? That shear planes that is being, whenever there is shear, there will be a number of planes which are interacting, okay, upon one another. So what is that number of plane in the threaded zone? That is given by NN. NS is the number of shear planes without threads intercepting the shear plane. So this is for shear planes without thread, and this is for shear plate with threads. So now suppose normally what happens is, normally the entire length of the bolt is threaded. Starting from the that washer, steel washer, to the nut end, the entire grip of the bolt is threaded. So in that case, your NS will be 0 because there will be no plane which are causing without threads. So simply keep that as NN. Now what is BLG? BLG is a reduction factor to allow for the overloading of ended bolts that occur in long direction. Now when the direction is long, when the length is long, so you have to apply a reduction factor because of overloading of end bolts. End bolts will be more, overloading will be more. BLJ is a reduction factor to allow for the length effect of large grip length. When the grip length is more, told you earlier, the grip length will be more. So that has an overall reducing effect on the shear capacity. So in regard to that, you have to introduce this reduction factor beta LG. And beta PKG is a reduction factor on account of packing of plates in excess of 6 mm. When you are providing plates, thickness of whose, the aggregate thickness of whose is exceeding 6 mm, then you have to, for extra plates you are providing, that is called packing. So if you are providing extra plates for packing, then this reduction factor you have to introduce. So ultimately, this reduction factor, these values will be less than 1, obviously. So entire this thing will be less than this. So V and SB will be reduced value. But let me tell you one thing. In the normal problems that we do, first of all, this is the generalized formula. Okay, so these, we are not using longer joints. This is the generalized formula. Okay, this is very rarely being used. What we are going to use is, we'll keep all this as 1, 1, and 1. That is, there will be no reduction in whatever problems we are going to do. All this reduction factor will be 1. There will be no reduction. 1.0, 1.0, and 1.0. So this will simply reduce to this. Another thing is, there will be no NS. NS will be 0 because entire grip length of the bolt will be threaded. So only shearing planes will be with the threaded part. Okay. So it will be FUB √3 NN ANB. So this much formula will be there. Okay. Generalized, in general problems that we will solve. So I'm telling you this beforehand only. So now see, bolt size and tensile stress area. So this A and B. Okay, this A and B is the net tensile area of the bolt. Okay, so this is given according to the dia from this table, A and B. So like for 12 mm dia, it is 84.3. For 20 mm, 245. For 16 mm, it is 147. So you have to take from this table. This table is also given in your code. Now that was the nominal shear capacity. You find the safe factored shear force. Factored shear force is VNSB by gamma MB. Now simply in this formula, you put in the denominator, put gamma MB. So this formula will be reduced to VSB will be equal to VNSB by gamma MB. This is equal to VUB by √3 gamma MB, NN ANB NS plus ASB bracket beta LJ, beta LG, and beta PKJ. So all this will reduce to 1. So this formula is only this much. And eventually this is also 0 in most of the cases. So this formula will be FUB by root 3 gamma MB NN into ANB. So this much formula only we will be using. Okay. Now this formula is there only for single sharing. When you are providing 2 cover plates, then there will be double share. One share will be on the top of the plate, top cover plate, one sharing plane will be there. In the bottom cover plate, there will be another sharing plate. So this will be 2. Okay. So this entire formula will be 2 into that factor. Now bearing strength of bolts. Sharing capacity we have discussed how to find the bearing capacity. The nominal bearing strength of the bolt is given by VNB is equal to VNPB is equal to 2.5 kb D into T FU, where kb is a constant which is smaller of E by 3D naught, P by 3D naught minus 0.25, FUB by FU and 1.0. So these are 4 values. E is what? Edge distance. E is the edge distance, P is the pitch distance. Okay. So in that you will be given the pitch, or if it is not given, you have to assume. Okay. End distance also according to the dia you can choose. So you know E, you know P. D naught is the diameter of the hole. It is not the nominal diameter of the bolt. It is the diameter of the hole. So that also you will get from the table. So everything you are getting from the table. You find the value of all 4 of these and take the smallest value, that will be kb. D is the, what is D? D is the nominal diameter of the bolt. Okay. T is, what is T? Fu is the ultimate tensile stress of the plate. Okay, Fu. And T is aggregate thickness of the connected plates experiencing bearing stress in the same direction. That means if 2 plates are there, you have to take TS summation of both the plates. That will be the aggregate thickness experiencing bearing. Whichever plates, total thickness of the plates that is experiencing bearing in the same direction, that thickness you have to take T. Okay. So this is how you find VNPB. Now VNPB will again for the safe, what is the safe bearing load, bearing capacity? VNPB by gamma factor of safety. Now for gamma MB, for the partial factor of safety of material bolt is 1.25. So this will be equal to 2.5 kb dt fu by gamma MB. Divide that entire thing by gamma MB. So this you will find the bearing capacity. Now shear capacity you are finding. Okay. Bearing strength, sharing strength you have found out. Bearing strength you have found out. Now how to find the tensile strength in bolt. So this is also another thing, how to find tensile strength in bolts. So shear strength, bearing strength and tensile strength. So nominal tensile capacity in the bolt is given by TNB is equal to 0.9 FUB ANB. And it should be less than FYB ASB gamma MB by gamma M. Okay. This entire value should be less than this. Now what is FUB? Ultimate tensile stress of bolt. All right. What is FYB? Yield stress of bolt. This is if A and B is the net tensile area stress of the bolt, which is given from the table. Okay. ASB the shank area of the bolt. Okay. Shank area will be different because shank area will not contain the threaded area. After threading, the net area will see initially when the bolt was not threaded, it will have a certain area pi by 4 d square. Now after threading, the area will reduce, and that is the net area of the bolt. That is called nothing but A and B. That you have to take from the table. Now TDB will be again, this was TNB nominal tensile capacity. So safe tensile capacity will be TNB by gamma MB, again divided that by gamma MB. You will find this value. So gamma MB is the partial sector factor of the material of bolt 1.25. And what is gamma M0 for this formula also? Gamma M0 is 1.10. So this is partial safety factor for material resistance governed by yielding. Okay, so this is given by TDB 0.9 FUB by gamma MB ANB. So find TDB like this. You divide this entire thing by gamma MB. Now you have found out the shear strength, you have found out the bearing strength, and you have found the tensile strength. So based on that, we'll discuss how to solve problems in bolting, how bolted connections are designed, and then we'll discuss some concepts about the high friction, how to calculate all this strength. All these strengths you are calculating, 3 strengths you are calculating in case of normal bolts or unfinished bolts. how do we calculate in case of HSFG boards? That we'll discuss. We'll take up some problems. Of course, we'll take some problems. Otherwise, you can't understand what is going on. We'll discuss combined shear and torsion loading that is coming on the boards. Shear strength, tensile strength of plate. We have understood tensile strength of bolt. Now we'll understand tensile strength of plate, how it is calculated and how it is done, how we calculate the strength and efficiency of the joint. So all these things we'll understand and discuss in the next class. Thank you for today.